So guys, Bitcoin is floating around 92K at the moment, but it hasn't been with pain. BTC is giving us hell at the moment, and it's pulling down these altcoins. So today we know we've got a massive week ahead for us. There's so much going down. These alts are under pressure. I've got tons happening here for you guys. Let's get right into it. And remember, as always, hit that like, hit the bell, hit the subscribe, and you might notice I've got a couple of tech issues at the moment. I'm on a different camera and you can hear an echo because I'm on a different mic, but the content is going to be the same and there's going to be the same bangers. Look who's here today. We've got Chaos, the indicator legend, bringing us some stuff. He's going to tell us if we're going up or we're going down. Then we got a likes bouncer in the house as well. Look, he's got it looks like a Superman t-shirt on at the moment. So we are ready to go. We are locked and loaded. Let's kick on here. So Banter Bubbles, absolute dog show for us here at the moment. The last few hours, in fact, the weekend was very disappointing for us. And to look at it now after today, the only hopium that I can actually give you guys right now is that we have noticed in the past, when we have a bearish Monday, we often have a much better or more bullish week. And when we have a bullish Monday, like last week, we tend to have quite a horrible week ahead. So if there's any bull source on offer here today, they must send us to hell on a Monday so that we can recover during the week and have a good ride into the weekend. So lots going on here, but pain and blood all over the place. ETH nearly hit our inverse head and shoulders level as well. And just all around misery. So let's jump straight into BTC and let's see where we are on the lower time frames, and we'll get things going. And guys, again, excuse the echo, excuse the lack of quality sound and cameras at the moment. So what are we looking at now on the 2 hour? We can see a couple of things have happened to us, and this is what I dropped in the hackers earlier today. We were watching BTC and there were a couple of key levels on the 2 hour that we were looking at getting pinged. One of them was going to be the full wick fill from the dumps on the 5th of December. The other one was going to be the wick fill with all that liquidity here from the 17th to the 18th of November. So that was always going to be quite a big zone for us to the downside. And you can see they chose absolute violence today. Look at this, straight into that lower level there. We pinged around about 89K. But what I loved about that was the beautiful reversal candle. So that could be something there in it for us. But anybody looking at this current picture here now, our lows are going to be our support marker for us. So call it 89,000. If we start losing and closing under those lows, then we most likely tracking to the 85K level. And I'm going to show you that one on the Bitcoin daily chart in a couple of secs. So right now, what can we see? We know we've got a reversal on BTC. You can see our oscillator is now turning to the upside and things are looking a little bit more bullish there from that perspective. And that tells us if we do get a ride up, we got to just be a little bit cautious as to where we can get rejection. So first phase always after a big sell-off and dump like that is we often tend to come back and fill the wicks, or at least we often tend to come back and fill some kind of 618 or some kind of region just midway through that wick. So what we want to do is just pull our fibs from the lows to the highs, and we can identify quite quickly here on the 2 hour chart that 90,500 is going to be our first sort of bull zone of interest over here. So 90,500, that is temporary bull zone level on any pullbacks. Then lower down, I would say looking at 89K to the downside. Now, I am currently in a BTC long on Prime XBT, and I was a little bit late to the party. Once we saw that wick, I obviously jumped into that. You can see we're running ETH as well, but my TP zone for this current BTC long is this hot zone here, 94,300. Why that is interesting to me, you can see our horizontals are in play, and we've also got our anchored VWAP at the highs here. So 94,300 is where it's at for me. So any upside, I'm bailing on BTC in that region if we do start hitting that zone. Now, if things start pushing a little bit harder, a little bit higher, then you're going to be tracking 95,900 and you're going to be tracking 97,500. But that is pretty much where I see things now at the moment with this current sell-off. And look, ideally we want to hold these lows, and we can see that on the 2 hour we may be getting some kind of reversal. So we'd love to see a higher low on BTC now on any pullbacks. And again, you know where I am going to be exiting that trade. So guys, if you want to long these things with me on Prime XBT, there is a link in the show description for you guys. So just jump in there and join me on Prime. It's really fun to scalp BTC on here. And you can obviously see that you can trade. If you click on CFD trading, I've longed the S&P here. So I've gone to CFD trading and I've longed the S&P off that gap fill. So we're going to see if we start getting a little bit of action there from the S&P as well. I'm going to take you through that chart. So remember, Prime XBT, you can do crypto and you can do CFDs, oil, and all those types of things, gold, silver, and those things. So here I'm going back to my futures account. Remember, they are two separate trading platforms, and there it is over there. Okay, so that is that for now. Let's jump into the current new situation. So what did we see earlier today? We saw $500 million in liquidations occurred in the last 24 hours. So that was earlier today. 450 million coming from long positions. Guys getting absolutely rinsed again. Anyone that was long, how are you feeling there?
Rinsed?
It was pretty rough.
It was. Okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Let's jump into what else we're seeing out there. Well, we know we got a massive week ahead for us, guys, and a lot of people are now waiting on this Trump situation. So for me, my current sentiment is still, it remains to be seen what Trump is going to do. If we're selling off now today on this Monday, we can see that there's a chance we're going to pump into the inauguration on the 20th, and then we might have a sell-off. If we start selling into the inauguration on the 20th, well, then we might be faced with a situation where we get a pump on the inauguration day. So what I'm going to say here is play it by ear. Don't get too aggressive either way, and don't bank on like an automatic Trump pump. So if we pump into the inauguration, don't suddenly assume that we're going to pump some more. Just be super careful along the way there. Okay, let's get what else is going on. So much happening out there at the moment. We also see Tether has relocated to El Salvador. That is interesting. Obviously, regulation-wise, it looks like it makes a little bit of sense there for them. They might get a little bit of less heat, and that would be bullish. And then Michael Saylor buying some more BTC, but we've noticed he's buying less and less, right? He's buying smaller amounts, and I don't know who else is going to prop up the market. Where is our next major catalyst? So for me, it's Trump, obviously, and for me, it's a host of these other things that we can be expecting this week. And number one is obviously PPI. That's always a market mover for us. Number two is CPI coming on Wednesday for us. That is a market mover as well. And then a whole lot of things happening this week. What are you thinking this week, Chaos?
I'd like to think that we're going to make some sort of bottom, because on most of the charts that I'm looking at today, we've lost Q1 and the yearly open. On some of them, we are testing it, but to be honest with you, what I'd like to see is there's a couple of order blocks on most of the charts just below. So I wouldn't be surprised to see one more wick, which is going to suck. To take out those orders and then start to reclaim these levels, level by level we go.
So I've got a couple of charts that I'm going to show you guys today. One of them is AVAX, which tells me that the sell-off isn't quite done yet. Okay, so that is my current concern. So we can see we're getting a bounce right now, but there is a lower level on breadth. There's a lower level on AVAX. We're going to talk about these things now while we are getting going ahead. So Welatu, what's going on here? Worry Trump inauguration could be a sell. Yeah, it could be. It really could be. So who was NZ Danny saying extra chest today? Yeah, you got some extra chest. We need some of Chaos's extra chest as well. Maybe James has got some extra chest out there. There he's got the Superman chest. It was an appropriate shirt. It was the right shirt for the occasion. Okay, so massive weeks ahead for us, guys. What I want you to do is be ready. We're looking at higher time frame charts today. A lot of them, then I've broken down a SUI chart in a degen fashion. I'm going to show you how you can try and snipe some entries on that as well for SUI. So stick around. There's so much going down here at the moment. So let's get cracking. Let's jump into a couple of things that I'm spotting at the moment. So what I was saying, I went long on the S&P off that gap. Now it remains to be seen if we're going to get that bounce. So one of the targets I was talking about last week when we did have when that sell-off started, we saw on Friday, we were losing our head and shoulders on the S&P. And I was saying, is this a front runner now? Is this a precursor to what is going to happen to BTC? And we can just see today, BTC has slightly copied that as well by dipping its toes below on that head and shoulders. But for me, this gap close was a long zone. So I've taken the long on Prime XBT here from this 5,780 zone. My average entry is probably a little bit higher there at the moment. So I grabbed a couple of S&P longs. Let's see if we are going to get a push up. I'm not expecting too much. I'm just looking for something along those lines there before maybe a second sell-off on the S&P. But interesting to note, guys, this head and shoulders has started playing out, and it was teeing us up on Bitcoin as well last week. So head and shoulders here, BTC, and our first big zone has been hit. Now, the interesting thing here for us is where are we going to get this candle close? Because if we get a daily candle close under the neckline of this head and shoulders, I suspect we are going to get some more pain, and we are going to start heading lower. And the big banger for me has got to be this $85,000 level. It's an absolute banger. Look at this daily wick, and you can see why they would come and hunt that. Look how easily they hunted this wick for us today, and this just makes the most obvious sense for me that 85K is next. If we start closing under this 90K zone, if we start settling under these levels, then we're going to be in a world of pain, I would guess, for some of these alts. Now, I don't suspect it's going to be a very long one, and that's why I brought Chaos here today, because he's our indicator man. And I can see on the daily, there's a couple of signs here on the oscillator telling us Bitcoin is trying to build some kind of reversal here at the moment. But we know these things do take a little bit of time. But when we start getting these types of prints, the secret blue dot and the divergence there, as you can see, that green line, there are indications that, we might get these wicks to the downside, but we need to be ready, because when this thing is going to bounce, it's going to bounce properly. Ivan says, how much deeper are we going? Ivan, 85K. And then there's a CME gap sitting here that I've had on this chart reluctantly, but we've always got to know these CME gaps, when we start getting closer, they start getting much more attention. So 77,800 is that CME gap for me, and that is going to be the danger zone. And then lower down, don't forget, guys, if we looked at this chart on the 15 minutes, we would say easy play here, easy longs for us, any pullbacks onto that zone, bang, and looking for longs of 72K. So it is on the table. But what we do know is we get bounces along the way, and it would be pretty rare if they just send us straight down in one go. So don't get too panicked out here. We will get reactions along the way. And remember, in these types of situations, drops into these bounce zones are for longs, and pumps into the hot zones are for hedge shorts, for taking profits, and just for shorts in general. So I'm going to show you a couple of these setups. Frank, what's going on here, bro? That's what his wife said last night. What was he talking about? What did his wife say last night? Remind me. What did I say? Did I have a slip of the tongue there? So guys, if you want to know, just going forward as well, I just want to show you guys Forex Factory. If you want to follow all these events going on around the world, well, especially in the US, with all the data and all the things we talk about, you can just jump onto Forex Factory and follow them there. So it's a free available website, and you can track what is going on. So you can see today the events, then you can click, you can go to, sorry, I'm going backwards here. I'm going backwards. Why am I going backwards? There, January 14th, you can see we've got our PPI on its way there as well for us. So that is pretty much that. Okay, let's get into some action. Let's get into some altcoins. And I want to start with this for you on these altcoins. Now, again, this is going to sound super bearish, but guys, just bear with me, okay? But the fact that there's a certain couple of things happening here at the moment that are notable, and they are of concern. This is total 3, and this is all our altcoins excluding Bitcoin and ETH, and you can see what's going on here. We've got a head and shoulders. Okay, so that is typically a bearish setup. We've seen the head and shoulders on the S&P, we've seen the head and shoulders on BTC on the daily, and we now have a head and shoulders on the altcoin market. Okay, so something notable here. What we do know about these types of things is we often bounce in these regions, and then maybe we get some more yes, we are correct, and then we get some more downside after that. So there is a warning bell for us from that perspective. So this tells me, again, any bounces in these altcoin markets, we should be looking to take profit. And again, we can trade these bounces, but also some hedge shorts at play. So I'm going to give you my strategy and what I've done with some of my hedge shorts at the moment in a couple of secs. Then I've got the Bitcoin dominance chart. Now remember, Bitcoin dominance tells us, where Bitcoin is in control of the market or where the alts are in control of the market. And a bullish looking Bitcoin dominance is not necessarily a good thing for the altcoin. So what do we have? We've got head and shoulders on the alt, which is bearish, and we've got an inverse head and shoulders on Bitcoin dominance, which is bullish for dominance. So that also tells us typically bearish for alts. Okay, so there's the worst case scenario out of the way. And I mean, Chaos, he's not in tears yet. He's actually okay. He hasn't started crying, so I'm relieved. James, you're not upset either. I think you're taking it like a man, the news.
Of course, XRP's doing just fine. I'm good.
Of course, XRP is doing just fine. Okay, we're talking about XRP as well. So, guys, remember, this week is a massive week in the market, and we also have the Trump inauguration. So what you are seeing is a couple of bearish things. We know that, we understand that, but we do have CPI, we do have PPI. So what does that tell us? It tells us if it's bearish, well, these head and shoulders are going to play out. If it's bullish, they're going to pump up, and we're going to be testing those shoulders of those head and shoulders, and then we're going to see what happens into the 20th on that Trump pump. We'll plan accordingly during the week. So make sure you are watching every day so that we can just strategize as we go along. Okay, so Gabriel's trading some link there at the moment as well. Let's see. There's look, a lot of good levels have been hit. So we saw from Look on Chain earlier today, whales were dumping ETH at a loss. I mean, look, I think guys got liquidated, guys got hurt. I think there was a lot of panic selling as well, and we can see that ETH is under severe pressure. Now, I called this ETH setup. I don't know, a week or two ago, we were speaking about the possibility of this ETH setup at the moment, and that was going to tie in with Bitcoin losing that head and shoulders are starting to fall over. So we can see today, Bitcoin started dipping lower, and now ETH has started performing to the downside, and we are now faced with this possible inverse head and shoulders on ETH. So this is the first alt that I want to show you guys that tells me that there might be a little bit more downside to come before we get a solid bounce. So you can see from this ETH chart here, anything from 2,000, call it 2,880 down to round about 2,700 is going to be my main big zone that I'm interested in here on ETH. You can see our rising trend is in play as well. That will be some extra support, but it makes sense now after coming this far down on ETH, and this is the 3-day chart, that 2.8 to 2.7 is now on the table for us. So, higher conviction longs on ETH, 2.8 to 2.7. Right now, you can see we are playing a bounce at the moment, and just nice to see Old Faithful, the 200-day MA, coming into play for us and giving us a little reaction. Now, remember, we identified this downtrend on ETH quite a long time ago, and we could easily have a situation where the alt market pumps a little bit this week and then gives us some kind of rejection. So remember, we are now in a couple of longs, and some of the hackers guys are sitting in some longs from setups from earlier today and obviously last week as well. And we got to play this by ear now. And we got to strategize how we do it. But if we do get a pump on these alts, remember, we are looking for lower on some of these things. So make sure you are taking profits at some key areas just in case we do get that reversal. Now, absolute shit show. I see we actually melting down again. So when we got that wick earlier today, I closed my Brett short, banged it closed. Okay, it was a nice one for me. I closed the AVAX short that I've been running for probably 6 weeks. I closed the Sol short. I closed my RW short. I closed my injective short. I closed all of those shorts on that wick dump from BTC. And then we got that short-term bounce. And now I've started a couple of head shorts again. So just to protect myself, just in case there is more downside in the market. So you can see my head shorts that I'm running, Render, Brett, and AVAX. These are fresh ones now. I just opened some shorts on that bounce there, just in case, to protect the trading account. You can see I'm under severe pressure on that Brett. It's negative $14,000. Now my short, I closed about $11,000 in profit on that Brett short, and I've now exited a little bit more Brett on the pump. And we're going to see now how this thing now starts playing out, because Brett is one of the tokens I'm watching. We've got a little bit more downside to go. Then I think we are going to get a nice big bounce on that Brett. You can see I'm in 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗏. Render, this one I started jumping into. What it turns out was a little bit too early on Render yesterday, so that is now currently flat. Injective, flipped long into Injective there. 𝗬𝗏, no changes to that. I'm still riding that. I'm bullish on 𝗬𝗏. The minute we get a market reversal, I'm comfortable with this 𝗬𝗏 position here, and looking for this one to send us a little bit higher. And then you can see I'm currently in 𝗬𝗎 as well. Okay, so that is what is going on there for me. But let's talk XRP. And where's my XRP? Where's my XRP? Oh, there it is. There's my XRP. Okay, I thought for a second I didn't have my XRP. There's my XRP, and that thing's cooking. Okay, so we're $36,000 long on XRP at the moment, and this was the trade. So if you guys were watching the show, you would have seen last week we were planning a couple of things on XRP. So we were looking at buys in all of these zones on XRP. So for me, that was where we were accumulating potential longs on XRP. Then we looked at the trend break, and now the obvious situation for us was to buy the retest. Now this was a typical retest of trend buy here for us at the VWAP, at the trend, at the 382. So we can see here immediately XRP 233 is going to be your support marker that you're going to be watching now today. And I think, to be fair, relative strength versus the rest of the market, I mean, look how this thing is performing at the moment. Now we know Trump and the boys are quite tight at the moment with XRP, and that the market is responding accordingly. And I think James is super happy because this man has been riding his XRP trade for God knows how long. He probably got in at 40 cents or something stupid. He's even writing it's going to the moon. So he's smiling. I mean, what was your entry?
70 cents was the original. I have built it though, so my entry's sitting about $1.70 at this point. I have sweat a little bit before, but this was nothing this time. This was nice.
Well, good luck. Okay, so anybody trading XRP right now, your support levels 2.33, that's got to be the low marker for today. So anyone who got some wicks down, 2.33, and then you can see I've got the big banger. That's our backup zone for us. That's the 50-day MA at 2.225 is going to be your next zone. So if we do start dropping lower with Bitcoin, 2.225 is what you're going to be watching. Ashka, I've got virtual for you, bro. It's coming in hot. And I think we've got an entry coming on this virtual just around the corner. Okay, so XRP traders, those are your support levels that you need to watch. You can see there's a little bit of liquidity here. Easy little visit to that zone, 2.22. Makes sense if they do come down. And then upside targets, no changes for me for the upside. My XRP 2.7 and 2.88. That is where it's at for me to the upside. Okay, let's go. Let's go Sol, and we're going to get Chaos in here in a couple of secs. I'm sure he's super excited to give us a couple of things. So Sol, I went long earlier today on, where was it? On, I think on VX. I went long early on VX today on Sol, and the current trade for me on Sol is a candle close under the 200-day moving average. So if we get a candle close below 172 for me, then that tells me that Sol is potentially going to start drifting a little bit lower. But you can see what's happened today. It's kind of played out pretty much what we wanted. This wick was a little bit aggressive for us here, but you can see this 178 region is now the zone that we want to see start holding for Sol. Anything down to 172, that's our 200-day MA. We really want to hold that and start pushing a little bit higher. So if you're sitting in a Sol position, I would say your invalidation, if this thing falls over, has got to be a candle close under the 200-day moving average. That's this blue line over here, and that is about 172. And you can see that'll be a candle close under the trend as well. So that is not a good look. If we start closing under this trend, then we most likely drift a little bit lower into those zones. So that zone for me, 160 down to 155 is going to be the next big zone for you guys. You can see it's a very clear long zone for me, and I have highlighted this for you. So you can see those horizontals in play there. 160 is where it's at for me on Sol. Now remember, guys, directly after the show, these charts go directly into Chart Hackers. So if you are getting a little bit lost here while I'm talking, remember they will be available to you in Chart Hackers straight after the show. So just make sure you're watching the show for context and you're not just looking at the pictures, and you need to know what I'm saying when I'm giving you these levels and these areas. So Sol, just to summarize, 178 to 172, that is support I want to see hold. Then lower down, we're looking at 160 to 155. Those are the banger zones. That is where you get your high percentage moves for me. Now let's talk SUI. And this was an interesting one as well. So SUI, typical reaction. I dropped this one in my trading chat on Chart Hackers earlier today, 4.24. Why was this a reaction zone for SUI? Well, pretty simple. It's a 786 fib pool. It's a VWAP from the lows. It's the 50-day moving average, and it's got some horizontal tie-in. So there was no rocket science here. It was a very simple zone to look for bounces on these types of tokens. And again, these hot zones just delivering for us once again. And so SUI, major support, SUI traders, 4.24. You can see on the 4-hour time frame, we do have that reversal print. So this tells me now, considering where we got the reversal print, we really want to see this higher low, or at least the lows hold for 𝗬𝗎, and that could be a little bit bullish for us leading into this week. Then I suspect we do get quite a hard move on 𝗬𝗎, but notable information here for you guys, very important. 𝗬𝗎 has lost this rising trend. Okay, so not a good look at the moment. We've lost the rising trend. Now we are pushing up into the trend. So this is technically a bearish setup here. Anything up to 4.73, those types of levels there, 4.75, anything up to those types of regions is a bit of a danger zone. So if you're sitting in 𝗬𝗎 longs, that is typically where you want to take some profit along the way if we do pump higher. But ideally, from a longs perspective, if we get a second dip in the market, you want to just see 𝗬𝗎 hold that 4.2 for your next long. You can add there as well. Jamari, look, CRV will pick up. Okay, the minute the market moves, that CRV is going to pump hard. There's a narrative behind that, the DeFi, and we're talking Aave as well, those types of things. It is going to pump hard, and you know, we can look at that chart for you in Hackers. Jamari, are you in Hackers? If you are, we can look at that chart for you. Izzy, Chaos, I'm getting a thumbs up. Is the man in Hackers?
I was just saying thumbs up. I've actually got curve up on my screen.
Good. Well, there you go. Okay, so we're going to bring it up. Well, hang around. Chaos, hang around. Okay, so just to close on 𝗬𝗎, you can see short-term, 4-hour, looking for that bounce. We are getting that reversal, so that is nice. What I would suggest, upside danger zone, 4.73, 4.76, that is a trouble zone for me. And bulls, simply, you just want to hold your 4.24 zone. That is going to be your support that you want to be watching. Okay, so that is that on 𝗬𝗎. Then I've got a degen chart for you guys. Now, I can't map them all out for you exactly, and what I wanted to do was just give you the tools so that you can start looking at these yourself and try and figure out where you can get a scalp. Now, if 𝗬𝗎 is going to remain bullish, we know that we typically want 𝗬𝗎 to hold the higher low or at least double bottom. So what you can start looking at is after the dump, you tend to get a nice wick. And you can see we got that beautiful wick there on 𝗬𝗎. And again, just touching that 50-day MA, such beauty there. And what you do, you just take your fibs from the lows to the highs, and you identify your 618. And now typically what happens with these things, they tend to come back and retest some of that wick, or, you know, the full portion of the wick. So I would say there could be a potential position to build on 𝗬𝗎 if you have a bullish bias that wick was the low for the week. Okay, for me, I'd like to see that. I'd like to assume that wick is the low for the week. And what you look at then is 4.38. That is going to be your first potential buy zone. And then your next buy zone is going to be that 4.25 zone. So anywhere in that type of region there for me is going to be your next buy zone. So if you want to build a bullish position there on 𝗬𝗎, that is typically what happens after a sell-off. That is typically what happens after you get those wicks, and then you might get that second pump and that second push. Eagle Heart is in the house. Bibbin, I've got AVAX, I've got Brett, I've got Injective, I've got what is the other banger that I've got here for you guys? Ondo. Ondo's a banger. Ondo's a banger. So there's all these big questions, guys. Okay, so yeah, we're going to try and look at a lot of these levels for you. Let's cover AVAX. So this was the first one I wanted to just give you guys a little bit of a warning bell on the market as a whole. So we have seen in the past, tokens like AVAX often dictate what happens next to the market or what happens next to Bitcoin, funnily enough. So if you trade these long enough, you can see that AVAX isn't quite settling in to a major level. And we know history tells us that AVAX loves the 200-day MA, it loves the 618 macro fib, and it loves these types of big zones. So there's a little bit of a warning bell for me that we bounced early today, in my view, on AVAX. And the real long for me is going to be when we wick down into this 32 zone, down to about 30.5. So 32 to 30.5 for me, that makes the most sense on AVAX from that perspective. You can see that's going to touch that 200-day MA for us as well. That's going to touch this macro pool. Now, this pool is from that August dump on the 5th of August, when we got absolutely obliterated. That is your extreme low that you are using for that fib pool. So that's pretty hot zone, 32 to 30 for me on AVAX. And I would expect, coming this close to the 200-day MA, I would expect now's the time for them to tap that for us before they send it a bit higher. Okay, let's talk Chaos. He looks super excited. He looks super calm for a market that's falling over like this. Let's see what you got for us here.
Got AVAX on the screen as well, just to let you know with regards to AVAX.
Oh, there we go. Talk to me.
So listen, I mean, very simply, we've got a beautiful order block here. And then I actually pulled a rectangle, for want of a better word, a level from this low back in November. These range between the lowest part of the order block at 32.3 and right down to 30.1. So pretty much spot on with what you were saying. What I'm trying to determine at the minute, and this is the same across all of these charts that you give, you let me show you the guys today, is whether we're actually at a point when we can wick in and go, or actually there's a little bit more pain to be had, and it might just look actually like that will be the wick. So whether we make some sort of reverse head and shoulders and then go, we're going to have to take it chart by chart, because this is a very fragile market today. It's obviously catching falling knives to an extent. So what I'm conscious of with AVAX, I mean, we should probably ping this zone and start to regain some levels. But I'm very aware of the fact that we may ping this zone as well. So, this remains to be seen later.
So, yeah, look, guys, I mean, I think you can see it's in the chart. We've had a couple hit these big zones, but yeah, it looks like they just need that final touch, but it doesn't mean it doesn't come with a short-term bounce in the meantime. So, that's why I'm, I closed my AVAX short on that dump. And now, looking at any pumps here, we can start looking at adding a little bit to that at the moment. So what is your support there, Chaos? What's that order block sitting in? 32?
So realistically, 32.3. And then if we get a wick down, I mean, I suppose this wick makes sense at 30.65.
Okay. Guys, you've got it. Okay, well, make sure that chart is also in Chart Hackers for you. Let's talk Ondo and Bitfunded quickly. I want to give you guys this because I know I had this Ondo. Sorry, that's injected. We're going to deal with that just now. Okay, so firstly, I'm trading Ondo, and Ondo's actually taken me home here. It's given me my funded account here on Bitfunded. You can see I'm in stage 2. I'm about to pass stage 2 here, and this is thanks to this Ondo trade that I'm in at the moment. So we're going to talk about that now. Remember, Bitfunded is a prop funded trading platform. So what happens is you, for this account, you spend $100. It's a $10,000 trading account. They give you a demo account. They call it the audition. Get 8%, get 5% for phase 2, and then they give you real money to trade with. Okay, so here is Bitfunded. This is a $10,000 account. You can see I'm about to pass stage 2 trading Ondo, and you can see it runs the same as any other platform. So I'm actually going to close that because I don't need to do anything else. So I've actually won. So here's the Ondo trade. We're going to close. I had 2 Ondo positions here. So this is now stage 2. So we finished the demo account. Now we are moving into a funded account, and we're going to send that thing to the moon. Okay, we're going to open some big size along the way. So hopefully you guys were watching the show last week. I gave you an interesting Ondo setup. I had a little bit of conviction on Ondo bouncing off a certain zone, and we discussed the unlocks and all those things. So I picked this tweet up today from Altcoin Hero, and he says Ondo selling off prior to the unlock on the January 18th is my thoughts. The majority of these tokens are focusing on the ecosystem growth. This is positive and is needed for project growth. Development growth unlock will slowly release tokens monthly, but unlikely to sell since they know Ondo global markets is coming. Remember, they are going to let you buy things like Tesla. You're going to be able to buy stocks using Ondo. I mean, that is unreal for Ondo. RWA play, remember, BlackRock love these guys. And there's obviously fundamentally some good stuff going on here with Ondo. So this guy, relatively bullish on the unlock, and I'm glad he agrees with me. I just want to remind you guys, this unlock is so big. It's $2.4 billion. Okay, it's a $1.9 billion Ondo unlock coming, 1.9 billion token unlock coming, and it's $2.4 billion in value. Okay, that is happening on the 18th. And what my plan was at the time was looking for weakness into this box, and then looking for buyers in this box, this 1.129 zone. Well, we actually said 1.15 to 1.12 was the buy zone for Ondo, and then looking for a bullish push after that till the end of the week into the unlock. So far, so good, guys. Let me know in the chats, did anybody get the Ondo trade that I gave you guys? I see Scott says Ondo is his Wall Street token. Yeah, I concur. I agree. And just let me know, did anyone take the Ondo trade? I gave it to you guys. I think it was on Friday, potentially. So that thing is now cooking. That is looking good. And you can see our oscillator on the daily We printed some bullish divergence here. We do have our green reversal print. Doesn't mean Ondo cannot come back again, revisit these wicks. So don't discount a second visit to this type of zone. James, of course, James got it. I mean, this man trades everything at the moment, and absolute savage there in the traders chat as well in Hackers. So 1.15 to 1.13, that is your zone. So if you do get a second bite of Ondo into that area, if you agree with this guy's sentiment and my view, well, that could be a nice entry for you for a little bit of an Ondo pump. And we're not going to get too euphoric. Obviously, the big upside is going to be roughly, let's just see the size of that move, it's roughly about 34% in a perfect world. That'll take us to the 50-day MA. But guys, baby steps. Let's get through this week. Let's get through PPI. Let's get through CPI. Then we start getting clever after that. Okay. Frank is trading some Ondo there as well, and he's holding it on spot at the moment. Okay, so that is Ondo covered. Then Tower, I wanted to cover for you guys why I had conviction of it on that, and why am I sitting in a minus $6,000 position on Ondo? Well, I mean, number one, we are moving into an area of high bounce zone-ish, okay? And this guy as well, Donna XBT says, Wyckoff breakout reaccumulation pattern. This was yesterday, so he must have been shitting himself yesterday after calling this. But he said, if you get a spring phase below 400, sell both your kidneys and ape the shit out of this. This guy was probably ready to go to hospital to start selling his shit, because I tell you what, Ondo put us, I mean, not Ondo, Tower, put us under a bit of pressure there. And where's my Tower? Guys, before I went live, I had a slight tech issue, and I lost all my charts, I lost my sound, I lost everything. So give me a second here. I had to here it is. Okay, so here's Tower. So let's get this one back here for us. Okay, so what do we know about Tower? Well, firstly, it's hit one of our big zones. So that is a great start for us. It hit 380. Now, that guy's probably trying to sell his kidneys right now. I hope he actually bought it. And I hope he's put his money where his mouth is at the moment. So Tower has hit 380. I suspect it can have a double dip here. I suspect it can go a little bit lower. And I want to just highlight this region for you here. It is just above this 360 zone. So you can see why I'm highlighting the zone. It's a simple pivot region. You can see that was previous resistance on the daily. Now we're just looking at that zone. So for me, a massive zone for me on Tower now, 380 to 360. If you get these dips into that zone, that is where you're looking to accumulate this thing. And if we do get a bounce, you can see it's pretty simple. Okay, we've lost that rising trend, just like many other tokens now. If we do get a bounce, we just want to ride it up to these types of levels for now. So we're talking 460, we're talking those types of levels, and then we decide up there what happens next. So right now, you know, it's about a 20% move in a perfect world to that upside resistance if we do get a strong bounce, okay? So watch 380 to 360, that's the zone. But if the market starts turning bearish, and I'm talking Bitcoin starts dumping to like, geez, 85, starts bleeding a bit lower, putting us under pressure, your obvious play for Tower is going to be 287, and we don't have much in the way after that. Look at that. So there's a lot to get taken out there at 287. So right now for me, you know, I'm not going to be around. If Ondo goes sub 360, I'm going to be cutting that thing, and I'm going to take my medicine. But right now, banking on Tower, sorry, I keep saying Ondo, banking on Tower, holding 380 to 360 for me, and then hunting that reversal. Chaos, do you have anything on Tower at the moment?
The only thing I've got, and I've actually got it open now if you want to bring the screen up, there's one concern that I've got. And whilst I do agree with everything you've said, this is more of a concern than me. And the problem is here is you've got, let me just make my screen bigger. Aside from the fact that we are messing around now at a support level that we've obviously dug into once, twice, and pinged a third time, we have got, let's just get rid of that. We've got this massive area of growth, or if you like, imbalance, that we still haven't cleared out the orders from. So this candle, and this area, obviously, you know, it depends how low we go. But if you look at the size of these candles, there's obviously some large areas of imbalances here. So my sort of strategy here is I've actually got some spot limit orders set already, and it's at the base, just above the base of this candle at 340. So I know you're talking about down here at this support level. That also makes sense. But what could potentially happen is if we do lose this, we come down, we bounce here, and then potentially we come down to that level. So I'm in here. Yeah. So look, I've got spot here, and I've got spot here. And I'm literally targeting range highs because I know what BitTensor can do. It's 140% to this candle, you know. So
that is why I'm trying to hang on to this thing.
Yeah.
You know, the minute the market sniffs bullish, this thing's going to rip. But it's burnt me before, so I'm hoping it doesn't catch me again here. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so guys, we'll make sure Chaos's chart is in there for you as well. That first zone of his Chaos, that's 360, right?
Realistically, 350 would be an amazing entry, and then the next one is what you said, down at 280.
Okay, so 360 and 280, those are your big zones there on Tower. Now, let's talk virtual. There's been a lot of questions about virtual. We know AI agents, we know it's a hot play, and we know this thing's been temperamental on the way down. It's given us a couple of bounces, and NZ Danny says imbalance. Sounds so smart. I mean, you're even better. This guy's British accent makes him sound 20% more intelligent as well. So imagine he says imbalance in his accent. I actually can't cope. I feel like it's Einstein, basically. Okay, let's talk virtual here quickly. And we've been waiting very patiently after my first rinsage there last week on virtual, and now waiting for the entry. And I think the real entry for me on virtual is going to be a little bit lower down. I'm looking at 2. That is my zone. You can see my alarm is set at the moment on my virtuals chart. So we're looking at 2 for the bounce. That looks like the most reasonable area for me. And you can see we are printing multiple reversals here. So I think we are very close. And the opportunity of one more wick into 2, I think would make sense to me. You can see this is just a nice pivot zone here for us. Look at that. Support, resistance. We just want to get this area tapped one more time and then a nice strong bounce. And I suspect that virtual bounce will be pretty big if we do get it. 30%, 26% to the 50-day MA, and you're going to ride it 60% to your VWAP. Remember, this thing loves to come back and visit the VWAP. Look at that VWAP to the upside there. At some point, it goes back to tap that VWAP. So at some point, you are going to be getting a massive move on this virtual. So for me, it's 2. That is what I'm watching. And did you ask Professor to talk to us in the chats there and tell you to chart dot?
I didn't, but I have got virtuals on my screen. I've got something quite bullish to look at, actually, if you'd like.
Give it to me.
Okay, cool. So I'll keep it very quick because you've covered it. Obviously, these are just the levels that I had marked out in the sand, which we lost. The thing that interests me is we are on our cash flow coming back positive. And what I love about this particular indicator is when we go positive and we get that point there, if I grab a price tool just to show you from this candle, I mean, essentially to the top, there was a 70% move. Now, it works the same in return. We go green, we come down. As we come red, we get a massive drop. What are we coming through now? We're coming through this massive red drop. We're now obviously coming to the upside. We're getting quite close to going green. And if you look at where the liquidity is in the order blocks, this is literally, I mean, we may ping this zone one more time to kind of line up with this to take out some of this liquidity here. But these, you know, it makes sense to me for the market makers, if nobody else, to start collecting these orders as we go. Everything's to the upside, not everything, but a lot of substantial amount is to the upside. This is really, in my opinion, very bullish. Okay, the fact that this cash flow, money flow, whatever you want to call it, is coming back to the horizontal line. We're going to go positive. You'd like to see some growth like this. That'd be awesome.
Okay, well, there you go, guys. Upside action. Look, I mean, I think it makes sense. We know there was so much excitement about this virtuals, and a lot of guys made a ton of profit, and now there's been gradual selling there. And yeah, look, upside for me is the next direction. Coding Enjoyer says XRP. Guys, I did cover that for you I did cover that XRP for you a little bit earlier, so maybe you've just joined, but it is coming. And Niraj says his virtual entry is 2.26. Yeah, you got to hold on, bro. It's 2 is the big level there for me, so you might get a bounce. NZ Danny says, are memes dead? Well, that is going to be my next conversation that I'm about to have with you guys. That is the question, are memes dead? So let me just show you what's going on here. This is me in VX at the moment. Here's that other Ondo trade that I spoke about. So grabbed it off that level that I gave you guys, and now I've started a sold position earlier today, looking for a bounce. Low leverage stuff, guys. Looking for these alts to hold these lows. and then start pushing on a little bit higher. You can see WIF is a problem. WIF is a big problem. I've got this WIF chart out for you guys. We're going to talk about it now. We do have room to breathe on WIF. Anything down to about 1.33, we're going to be looking at on WIF. So the question is, are the memes dead? Well, Altcoin 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪's got an answer for you. He says big cap memes don't look great overall, but this isn't the place to be shorting them. Okay, 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗡 has held up so much better than Bonk and WIF. Yes, we know, and that is probably because Sol ETH chart, ETH has outperformed Sol. Yes, I think we agree with that one. And look, he's saying he's still apprehensive how strong these will be later, but he believes, yes, there is going to be more upside on these memes. They will pump, just like everything else. They will have their time in the sun again. So there's only two levels here for me on WIF that you need to pay attention to. And for me, it's anything down to this 133 zone at the moment. And then it's this massive wick to the downside from when they came to kill us in August. And that is the low. So 1.08, that is your low. So if it doesn't bounce here in this zone, and for me, you know, an area like this for me on WIF, it's worth taking on some risk. I'm happy to have a go here. Look at all this liquidity here on the left-hand side. This is a major area. And this tells me, you know, there'll be so many stops in these types of zones. We know there's a lot going on in that area. So for me, this region, anything from this 1.4 now, where it is now, down to 1.33, looks like a zone of interest. Just look for that candle close under 1.32 if you are going to start bailing. So 1.32, just look for that fake out below, and then some kind of grab and maybe a push higher. What else is in favor of WIF? Well, you can see we've got bullish divergence in play here on our chart prime oscillator. I've got two reversal indicators as well. So look, the signs are there, okay? And if anything, it's a spot buy, because what we do know later on, what comes next for WIF, what we do know is some kind of massive pump. The minute the market reverses, these meme coins are going to make up for all the pain and all the suffering, and they're going to make up super quickly. So look out for that. And, you know, right now it's pain and suffering, but it changes just as quickly. And before you know it, you're going to have a double-digit green day. You might have 2 or 3 in a row, and then you've missed the boat. So make sure you are watching WIF. Big zone for me. If you take a hit, your next area is the wick fill to the downside. Okay, so that's, you know, that's the best. It's the best I can give you here on WIF at the moment. I do believe this thing does come back, and it comes back hard. Do you have any memes?
I'm looking at WIF. I agree with everything you've said. I've got nothing more to add. I agree with that. Memes, I have not. Does Dogecoin count as a meme still? It's not really a meme anymore, is it?
Doge is basically a government entity now. I mean, it's a government coin. It belongs to the states. I mean, I think Doge is a banger. Altcoin 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 talking PopCat with us today as well. He's saying it's fallen 75% and in a high volume node region. Okay, well, I think we can see that by the levels. This isn't the place to be shorting. He's thinking about buying it, okay, which probably means he has bought it already. Still think cats do some catch up to dogs later. Okay, it's been a terrible, it's been an horrific ride, this PopCat. And even when we had a massive run in the market not too long ago, PopCat kept on selling off. It was an absolute disgrace what they did to us. But you can see PopCat is now also sitting in a region where we're looking at reversals. Just like WIF here, we've got our divergence, we've got our print, we've got our magic blue dot as well. The last time we got the magic blue dot, we did get some upside on PopCat. You can see in that region over there with that blue dot. And now we've got our blue dot again, we've got our divergence, and we are once again sitting in a major zone. This is a macro 786 pull from the dumps in April, from the absolute lows in April. Okay, I mean, you don't get much lower than that, okay, on a chart. And now we know PopCat came out. When did PopCat come out? December.
Yeah,
it's like 0.000 cents. But anyway,
it was further back. Was it August time? Were you talking about December 23?
Oh, yeah. December 23. Yeah.
Okay.
So this pull is from those extreme lows, and you can see it's reacting in this major area. There's tons of support in the zone as well. Look at these horizontals that play here for us on PopCat. You can see the extreme low is 4625 that I'm watching at the moment. And again, on the daily, we do have reversal prints for you. So there could be some kind of push to the upside there for us that we're going to be watching. So take a look at that. You know, again, mainly suited for low leverage stuff, mainly suited for spot buys. But remember, these things are getting decimated. When the market wakes up again, you might notice that this was an opportunity, like a proper opportunity. Okay, so looking for big bounces there. anything from 20% to about 60%. Look at that 200-day MA is sitting at 77% away from where we are right now. So at some point, we know we get those pumps. If you take a look what has happened on this downtrend all the way, you can see at some point on the downtrend, you do get those moves to the upside, down, up. Look at that, down. You do get those pumps. So just be patient. It is coming, and it generally comes off these big zones that you're going to be watching. You see, Iman, you are the problem. You are actually the problem, bro. This is why our memes are getting wrecked, because you switching to AI agents, bro. And where's the faith in Popcat, Whip, Bonk, and all our bangers in the past? Okay, but I know this AI agent has been a proper thing for us, and it's been a banger. So it makes sense that people started chasing AI agents. But like I said before, AI agents, they are here to stay. We know they're not going anywhere, and I do believe memes are here to stay. It might just look slightly different because memes have now a new competitor. Things like Fartcoin. Okay, I mean, it's essentially a meme on its own anyway, but now it's got a use. So yeah, I mean, where does that leave memes? Other than a great joke. So coding enjoyer says Pepe's gonna rip. Now Pepe was part of my party for you guys, and I just want to find it quickly.
Just quickly, while you're looking for it, I've got a lovely Popcat chart to show you guys. Shall I bring it up while you're looking?
Give it immediately.
Cool. Here we go. So in Chart Hackers, the guys were range trading this with me, and I got 11 for 11 trades. Obviously, the range reduced as we went on. We got 11 in a row, successful trades, and then it left us standing. So obviously, we then had to kind of find a new, if you like, way to trade this thing. Now, having drawn this support level from the lows, don't mind telling you guys, I bought this on spot today. And I'll show you why. I've got, same again, this massive red cash flow wave, all right, which is coming in. I would expect this thing to make its way back to the zero line and start to go positive. The thing with Popcat is you obviously need to choose some memes that you guys believe in. For me, it is Popcat. I believe it will come back to the all-time highs, which is 300%. So what I've done is I've kind of just drawn some price tools as to where I see this thing going. There are some order blocks marked out, which I'm using as 3 natural points of the price action. I'm looking at 80%. This is on spot. If you choose the 10x, let's take 100%, 159%, and then a 300%. Potentially, if you believe in this thing and you follow this, use good TA, we start to regain some levels. There's loads and loads of reasons to pull back here, apart from the cash flow wave. We've basically got reversal signs. We've got engulfing candles, bullish engulfing candles. We've dipped into this support zone. Listen, no one can say that it won't do this. Okay, it can do that. That would be some new lows. However, from the looks of it, there's a very strong support here. Everything's telling me, I mean, it feels like some sort of bottom, even if it's not today and it's coming soon. Even if we get this, guys, and we get one more dip, I'd like to see us start making these levels. And then as we start to reclaim the yearly open, monthly open, quarterly open, and start to make our way back up, the way that you should play this is you should play each level as you go. You move your stop loss up as we go. And hopefully with some good luck, as well as some good trades, we'll start to push up through these order blocks. So this has got the potential to be one massive trade this year. So I think this is a good one to bear in mind, Dill. All right.
Look, I think you guys know my stance on Popcat. I mean, I'm an absolute fan of this thing, even though it's abused me. So, I'm looking for a big pump out of Popcat to start exiting. Obviously, we want a big move from this thing. And I think, riding it this deep and riding it this far, I think it's at some point it is going to give us what we need. Now, let's sort out the guys. There's a couple of guys looking for some Brett action here. And I see TXI or Taxi says, not looking good. He's out. Okay, well, let's talk Brett. So Brett is a problem for me. Okay, so I closed that Brett short on that wick. And I figured if we got a hard bounce, I wanted to be able to bank that short and then create a new short. Okay, so I didn't want to lose the profits of the short because it went over 10K. And now here we are. And you can see if you look at Brett on this chart, all I've done is pull a macro 786 fib and tied it in with a trend. And you can see immediately 0.097 is starting to look like a zone that we need to pay attention to. So unfortunately for, whoever's in Brett, myself included, this looks like, I don't want to say the final hurdle, but it looks like there's another push coming into this zone. And then it's the big one that we're going to get out of Brett, the big move. So At the moment, I'm kind of prepping mentally to take a little bit more pain, and 0.097 is pretty much where it's at for me, and you could probably ride that down to 0.090. So there's a little bit of liquidity there as well in that region. So looking for that push down if we do get it. And then resistance, easy, 200-day moving average. That's going to be your first take profit zone when you do get the bounce, 117. Then you're looking at 133. That's going to be your 100-day MA. And then you're looking at the horizontals a little bit higher up. So just above 0.14. So that is my game. Imam says, Popcat abused me, Rune destroyed me. Rune, guys, I mean, this Rune situation, not good. Okay, not good. The way this Rune is sold off. Obviously, these Rune guys have now delayed their lending, so that obviously affects fundamentally a lot of the project. So it doesn't mean that they can't keep the project alive. It doesn't mean lower prices aren't an opportunity, but what it could mean is there might be some more downside unless they come and start making some big announcements or some big changes here. There could be a little bit of pain. DGen Zen says, Bull Moon is incoming. Be strong through the FUD. Yes, guys, today is the full moon. Now, we have used that in the past. I think let's look at the moon. I think the last time I dealt with the moon, we looked at the whole of 2024. And at the time, and I haven't checked since then, but when we dealt with the moon last time, I think it was 7 out of 9 bullish moons resulted in a pop at the time. Okay, so there is something to be said. It had like, what is that, a 60% hit rate or something along those lines. Let's take a look here. And you can see our bull moon has printed right on major support. So yeah, guys, hang in there. Bearish Monday, bullish into Friday. It could still be on the menu for us. So just be safe out there, but understand these are big levels. There's a couple of charts that tell us we might dip a little bit lower, but there's also a couple of alts sitting on major support. So all you need to do is use your downside wicks from the dump earlier today. That can be your first marker, and you're going to look for double bottoms, and you're going to look for 618 pullbacks on some of those. If we are going to get that reversal, that is typically where it's going to be. And just remember, on the alts that I've given you with much bigger downside, like AVAX, like Brett, just be ready, okay? Because those are quite big moves still. They could be 8 to 12% on some of these alts. That will mean Bitcoin at 85K, and that might lock in your next level then to the downside. Okay, I've got one more for you guys. Pepe. And again, also under a little bit of pressure. Now we know we love this Pepe. It's held really well considering, if you look at Popcat, if you look at WIF and the others that have got decimated, you can see Pepe has done really well. So I've got 2 levels for you, or 3 levels for you of interest now. We've had our sell-off today. So your first zone, you're going to be watching the current region. You want to see Pepe print at least a double bottom or a higher low at the 16 region. So anywhere around the 16 zone, that is typically what you want to see hold on Pepe. Now, if there is more downside, I've highlighted 2 areas of interest. That is going to be the wick fill from the 20th of December. That makes sense. And that is going to be a test of the previous resistance on the 13th, 12th, 13th, and 14th of November. And that ties into the macro 618 pool there for us as well that we can start watching. So key level 0.16, and then lower down multiple zeros 144 is what you're going to be watching on Pepe. Now, if we get that second dip on AVAX, for example, you'll know the market is falling over, and then you might get that second dip on something like Pepe. And what type of move is that you see? It's still 10%. It's substantial. Okay, it's a proper dip to the downside. What news did James give us there? Lending on Rune has resumed. Oh, wow. Okay, so that could be good or bad. Good or bad?
Not sure which. That's a good question. We were looking at that in Hackers last night. People were hearing that there was a veto. There wasn't. I went to look it up, and sure enough, it was only paused for 72 hours. They resumed again based on a community vote. So I'm not too sure what to think here. People were happy at first about the pause, and now it's resumed.
But if the lending is resumed...
JP went through a big thread, and he said, listen, the communities voted. They obviously were fine with the tokenomics and how the token's built, or it would have stayed. So this is actually a good thing for the token, and we're going to continue building. And it seems like the FUD is cleared up a bit. I think a lot of this is just the market now.
Okay. Okay. So look, if lending is resumed, there was a bearish situation there because they were selling tokens, right, to pay. So as long as people are exiting, they're going to be under more pressure. So if lending is resumed and he's still around and they're backing the project, well, you know, then look at it as an opportunity rather than a disaster. Like I said before, we have met him. He's a very smart man. I mean, I must tell you, he's a very clever guy. So yeah, might have a couple of things up his sleeve. Okay, so guys, thanks for hanging. Obviously, chart hackers, this is where you can find the boys. Chaos, is there anything else going on there that we need to know about? Any other charts?
There's a huge, listen, I mean, I've dropped everything in chart hackers for you guys. Everything, you should be up to date. It's been an absolutely amazing day there. We've had Chartists live today. We've had a ladies club. We've had a lot of people on stage on Zoom. And we've been really, really busy today. So guys, there's something for everybody. All of these charts that I've just posted are in there, so you can check them out there. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Absolute banger. Okay, guys, so what you can do is if you want any of this info that we're talking about or any of the links we're using, the trading exchanges, we're talking about chart hackers, we're doing those things, you go straight into the show description and you will find all of that stuff there under the show for you. You can see Prime XBT is there, WeX is there, even 𝗙𝗟𝗟𝗦, which I'm gonna get you guys trading on 𝗙𝗟𝗟𝗦 soon. Just be patient. We're going to be trading some shit coins on there. It's around the corner. So if you want to sign up in the meantime, there is 𝗙𝗟𝗟𝗦 for you guys. It's quite an interesting platform, what's going on there. And I'm going to reveal more during the week for you guys. Okay, Bitfunded is also there for you guys. And don't forget, they still got win a 5-day all expenses paid VIP trip to Dubai coming up. So take a look at Bitfunded if you want to have a go on that. Remember, my current strategy, just have multiple of these accounts running if you can, obviously, because we know that it takes 5, it actually takes 10 days to pass the Bitfunded challenge. Why is that? Because stage 1, you have to trade 5 days. Stage 2, you have to trade 5 days. So that is 10 days. So the strategy for me now, let's have multiple Bitfunded accounts running, and we can starting to pass these things as we go and keep a rolling supply of funded accounts. So that is what I'm going for at the moment. You can see it's all happening there at the top of my screen. Okay, Chaos, thanks, bro. Catch you later.
See you later.
Okay, guys, hopefully the tech issues will be sorted. I'm on a Mac camera and my Mac mic. Excuse the echo, it's horrific, but we will obviously sort that out. So I'm not even looking at the right camera. There you are. Okay, so we'll see you guys later.